And welcome back. We have a 2007 Chevy Impala with an oil pressure problem. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at this. And as you can see, we have a p0522. Now, I did not experience this myself, but the customer tells me while driving there's a warning that comes out on the dash and it reads oil pressure low, stop engine. And let's work our way down till we find the oil pressure. And here it goes right here, and it reads 129.4 psi, which is crazy. So, and the engine's not even running, so something's wrong here. So even with starting up the engine, still about the same thing, something's wrong. So I already have the car up on ramps to go underneath the car, make everything easier. I've looked at this thing online a little bit, did some research, and people say that you need to remove the oil filter, as if you're doing an oil change, and you may need to remove your starter in order to get access to the oil pressure sensor, which it's right here. So it is tucked behind everything, but I was not going to give up, throw in the towel, and remove the oil filter and the starter just to do this job. So we're going to figure something else out. And like Eric O would say, here's your problem, lady. Okay, so the old sensor is still plugged into the block. I cleaned off the harness right here with a brake parts cleaner, and now I'm plugging in the new sensor, which was already supplied by the customer when they dropped the car off. So with the new sensor plugged in but not plugged in to the block, you can see already that we have very low PSI, which is what you would expect. So the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and remove the negative post on the battery, because we're going to do something that is going to get us really close to the starter, and you don't want to short anything out by grounding something that has power to it. And standing in front of the vehicle right here, you can see the exhaust manifold. So what we're going to do is go underneath the exhaust manifold and go left with our socket on the extension. You're kind of shooting in the dark here, so what I did is I just slid my extension in, and then I went underneath the vehicle to guide the socket onto the sensor, and then I came back up here to put my ratchet on and go ahead and break it loose. And right underneath the front bumper, there's sort of a splash shield that's held on with these 4 bolts. So go ahead and remove those, and it'll give you a bit more access. I was able to put my left arm inside of there, and I could get my hand on top of the sensor. It's not easy, and it's a really tight fit. So just try your best. And as you can see, I got my hand on the sensor right here, and I'm gonna go ahead and start removing it counterclockwise. keep in mind, once you pull the sensor out, there's gonna have all this oil that's just gonna start draining out. So what I did is I had the new sensor on hand and ready to go in, so I don't lose too much oil. So now that I got the new sensor into the block and it's preventing any oil from coming out, I plugged in the old sensor back into the harness just so I could check it out and see what's going on with it. And we're right back at 129.4 psi, so definitely confirmed it's just a bad sensor. And now it's time to tighten down a new sensor. So when I was removing the old one, I kind of skipped this, but now I'm going to show you exactly how I remove the old one, which is the same process you would use to install the new one. And now that you have your socket and extension just kind of laid in there, now you can slide underneath the car and try to get the socket to go onto the oil pressure sensor. The one thing you do not want to forget to do is to disconnect the negative terminal on the battery, because right where your extension is going to sit, it's so easy to ground out the power cable going directly to the starter, and you could do some damage. You could, at very least blow fuses, but you could do a lot more damage besides that, and you just don't want to deal with any of that. So just make sure you disconnect your battery. It took a little bit of messing around with it, but eventually I got my socket to sit on the sensor itself. So now it's just a matter of coming back up here and put my ratchet on and snug it down. Remember, you don't want to go too tight, don't overkill. I believe it's just made out of aluminum, the sensor, so just take it easy. And just my luck, my socket stood stuck on the sensor, so now I have to go retrieve it. After you get your sensor plugged in, don't forget to reconnect your battery. And don't forget about the 4 bolts to hold the splash shield on underneath the car. So with the engine off, you can see we have relatively low PSI, which is normal. So let's go ahead and turn the vehicle on. And there you go. So all along it was a bad or a defective sensor. And that's pretty much it. So if the video helped you, give it a thumbs up. And like always, consider subscribing. Thanks for watching.